Stewart is here.
The roads.
Good afternoon. We'll continue our media availabilities, and right now we have a special announcement. Joining us on the stage, we have Tony Stewart, driver of the number 14 Chevrolet for Stewart Haas Racing, Danica Patrick, driver of the number 10 Chevrolet for Stewart Haas Racing, and Mike Petrosillo, Senior Director of Marketing for Aspen Dental Management Incorporated. Danica, the 10 car has a whole new look this weekend. What's that about?
Aspen Dental and I have been partnered now for 3 years. It's been a lot of fun. Being an ambassador of the Healthy Mouth Movement has been a program that I feel like we've raised a ton of awareness for people getting to the dentist and taking care of their mouths, and just how much Aspen has also donated in free care is amazing. $4 million worth, which is just a very stand-up thing to do for the country. So we've been doing a lot of things to raise awareness for healthy mouths, and so this weekend is the turbocharged Tooth Fairy car, which is yet another program in trying to raise awareness for people going to the dentist and taking care of their mouths, because there are so many that don't. So there are going to be people out all over the track, outside of the track, inside the track, trying to see what people want to be able to get them to go to the dentist, like name your price kind of a thing. So some research and development is being done this weekend on what it's going to take for people to go to the dentist, and then we'll report after that.
Excellent. Mike, can you tell us a little more about what's happening this weekend here at Talladega Superspeedway?
You bet. Thanks, Tom. Well, first thing I want to point out, as you can see behind me here, it's officially Aspen Dental Weekend at Talladega. And we're going to pull out all the stops to engage these great fans at this track. And as Danica said, as a nod to her role as the turbocharged Tooth Fairy in our latest TV campaign, we're going to unleash multiple mini Tooth Fairy squads. Think of them as Danica's legions of little helpers out there. And they're going to roam the grounds, and they're going to ask people, what would it take to get you to go to the dentist? And we don't really know what's going to happen. But we think it's going to be fun, and like Danica said, it's going to be good research for us, and we're going to do whatever we can to get them to go to the dentist. And we've got some surprises up our sleeves, and I'm not going to share all of them with you, but the one thing I will tell you is that there's going to be a chopper standing by, and we're going to be prepared to airlift fans to the nearest Aspen Dental to make sure that they keep their promise. And so at the end of the day, it's all about making dentistry easier and more accessible for folks, and helping them get the care that they need and deserve. And we're going to have a lot of fun doing it.
Thanks, Mike. Tony?
Be careful what time of day you catch them here at Talladega.
Yeah, we're going to do it early.
Not too early, though, if you know what I mean. Like somewhere between maybe 10 and 11.
10 and 10:15.
Tony, I think you've got some Aspen Dental news to share as well, don't you?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for our truck race, July 20th, that Aspen Dental is the title sponsor for our truck race. So very appreciative and grateful, and glad to have them on board. They, as you can tell, they have a lot of fun with everything they do, and obviously this weekend's a huge weekend, and we're definitely very excited about the truck race as well. So I'm excited to see what all tweaks that we have for this week too. I can't wait to hear the stories of who we're helicoptering out of here, but ought to be interesting for sure. Definitely.
All right, before we open it up for Q&A, Tony, I think Danica has something for you.
It's really an invitation, and then
why do I feel like this is not going to be good for me in some way?
Acceptance is the fun part, so just do it. But we would like you to. Everyone's going to want to see this. We would like you to be part of the Tooth Fairy squad. So I have.
You just need somebody to drive them around, right?
Would you be part of the Tooth Fairy squad?
The driver?
Turbocharged Tooth Fairy squad.
The driver that just drives them around?
Squad?
Sure. Oh, I get a bag.
This is for you.
Awesome.
Well, no, it's not quite a bag. I mean, it's got to be more exciting than that with that kind of, talk beforehand. No?
This is not going to be good.
You said yes, so it's.
That's not a good start. Can you hold that for me?
Nope, that's yours.
And this definitely is a bad start.
It's a nice color.
You said you'd do it.
Just thank God there's nothing else in the bag.
Don't you wish there was more than just this?
I don't, unfortunately, I don't think this is my size.
It's elastic. It fits everyone.
Unfortunately, it
It's
is
a
my
one-size
size.
fits all. Thank you. We're glad to have you on the squad.
Yay.
Very send.
As if this is what I have to do to support our people, this is what I'll do.
That's what we do. We
That's,
do whatever it takes.
you
Nothing's
realize,
going to get the fans' attention like that. And you.
oh, there's
Sam.
no doubt they'll get their attention
I
with
don't
this.
know if it might change some of their answers as to what it would take to get them to go to the dentist. I feel like they're going to be so distracted by that they're going to forget to say a boat. But it's going to look good.
I wish I could say thanks for inviting me. So,
Well, with that,
Gee,
we've got a
thanks.
few minutes here to take a few questions. If you'll get your hand up, we'll get a microphone to you.
yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
I may have to try it in the motorhome first before I go out in public with this.
We'll start right here with Jordan.
You and I are on the same page right now.
I wouldn't even hold that wand for him. I want to make sure he held on to that thing.
Tony, Jordan Bianchi, SBNation.com. When it comes to Talladega, there's kind of perception that it's kind of a lottery and a lot of it's luck here, and there's some luck involved. But if you look at the stats recently, it seems like the same drivers are kind of winning at these plate races repeatedly. What's changed? Why is things different now? Why are the same drivers winning continually?
Well, I think, guys, I think it's the same philosophy as it has been as far as drivers knowing what to do and what to look for as far as, how to read what they need with their cars in practice to know how to pass in the race. And, you look at the guys that are really good at these places. It's guys that are good at both Daytona and Talladega, and they know how to work the draft. And, I think it's kind of a second wave of drivers that, since Dale Earnhardt's been gone, that have really figured it out. I think Dale Jr. and I had a pretty good run together here as far as when we were doing tandems together, and it seemed like we always got hooked up at the end of the races here. And the unfortunate part was I always got the lower end of the deal, finishing second, but he always won. And as far as I was concerned on points, that was a pretty good day for us, to finish second here. So, we were willing to do that a lot here. But I think it's just guys kind of have figured out how to pass and how to get that momentum and how to get enough momentum to get by without the car stalling out.
We're going to go over here to Jonathan, then we're going to go to the back, then we're going to go to Tom and Steve. Chris over here in the very front.
Jonathan Merriman, NASCAR.com. Tony, Ty said that you were running the beginning of the race in his interior of that car. How are you fitting in there? He said that the belt difference was about 1/4 of an inch. So are you going to be in his seat? And how are you in terms of your comfort in there? And are you going to be running the roof hatch?
I'm assuming we're running the roof hatch, but I don't plan on going out that way. It's not a way I've ever planned on going out of anything is through the roof. But I don't know. There was one girl I dated that I had to exit a little different direction than I thought I needed to. But that was a whole different story, though. It has nothing to do with racing. But honestly, we basically have the entire race car is Ty's set up in it. Seats, belts, headrests, steering wheel, everything's going to be Ty's. And the reason for that is I want him to be as comfortable as he can be. I mean, I'm going to do what I always do around here at the beginning of the race and just ride around the back until we get the first caution. So it's not going to be very glamorous on my part, but it's functional. I mean, it's to accomplish the goal of what we need to, and that's meeting the surgeons halfway and saying they didn't want us to run this race. We need the points, so we talked him into letting us at least start the race. I told him it normally doesn't go more than 2 or 3 laps at the beginning of the race before a caution. So it might go 82 or 3 laps, who knows, but we'll run till it gets there. I don't think, realistically, Ty's a little bit taller than me, but for the most part, I mean, everything in the car is fairly similar, so that's why we're pretty confident that I'm going to be more than comfortable running his seat right now. Thanks.
We're going to go to the back here, then we're going to come up here to Tom.
Tucker White, TuckerWhiteSpeedwayMedia.com. Tony, you had said that, kind of touched on this with the last statement, that if you go, that you're going to get out of the car once you bad around the first caution. Well, if the race were to go as deep without a caution as it did last October, would that possibly change, like possibly considering running the whole race at that point?
I still think the goal is going to be get a when the first caution comes out. I mean, the reason for that is, and if it means we go 80 laps or 100 laps or whatever, I mean, it's not likely that the race will go that long without a caution, but if it does, it's normally pretty, the level of intensity is pretty sanitary at that point. It's not really ramping up yet, so we don't feel like there's any danger in that. It's later in the race when guys are really having to make things happen that's the part of the race where we really need to be out of the car, and there'll be ample time to get that caution to get us out. And the good thing is, Talladega is so big that even if it's 40 laps from the end of the race and Ty gets in it, he's going to have enough time to do what he needs to do. But hopefully it'll happen sooner than later, and that way he can get in the flow of the race earlier than later, and he'll be fine. I mean, everything that he's done in our car this year has been awesome. I think he's done a fantastic job, and I think he'll be fine this weekend as well.
We'll go right here, Tom.
Hi, Tony. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. 2 questions for you. Number one, what was your reaction to the whole lug nut controversy, which has since been resolved with a rules change? And what went into your decision to make the donation to the Autism Society, which I thank you for as the father of a son with autism?
Thanks. I've been trying to figure out how many more $35,000 rule changes I want to make. But I mean, I'm glad that something's been done. Scott Miller is a huge asset to NASCAR right now, and Scott really, I think, was, from what I understand, the one that spearheaded getting something done. You hate to have to pay $35,000 to get somebody's attention to do something, but apparently that's what it took. So I've got questions too that I'd like to have answers to, that I'm still wondering why I'm paying a $35,000 fine for something that got changed 3 days later. So, but it is what it is. I mean, and with that, obviously, I was gone that evening after the announcement came out that I was getting the fine, and the driver council, we all have a chat that we get in, and when I was able to get back on my phone, there were 90 messages of discussion that had went on amongst those guys, and I'd realized what they had done about 3 in the morning. So the decision was I didn't want to take their money. I appreciated their support, and I think they made a huge statement about what the driver council's about, and the fact of they didn't believe that what I did deserved the fine. And with that, that's why they decided to support us and help split the fine with me. I didn't feel comfortable taking the money. And so what we decided as a group was to put the money together and give it to a great charity. And obviously Artie is a great friend to everybody in NASCAR, and somebody that we all as a group know personally, and we thought that would make a really big difference. So that's why we chose that charity. But we did it collectively as a group, and that's something I'm really proud of with this driver council, is how the drivers are united about everything that we're doing. And even in something like this, was the first time something had happened where somebody in the council got a penalty for speaking an opinion, and for them to show that kind of support and show that we're all one unit, and that's something that you don't normally see, and we haven't seen in this sport. I mean, guys talk amongst each other, but somebody gets in trouble for something, the rest of the drivers privately will support it, but can't publicly support it. So this was the first time that we've seen public support like that, and I think it's went a long way.
We're going to go to Steve Clare and then finish up with Bob.
Yeah, Tony, Steve Post with Motor Racing Network. The practices today qualifying, what's your in and out of the car plan as far as that goes? And kind of as a secondary thing, how is it working with Ty? Do you like that role as a mentor working with Ty?
Ty is very easy to work with. Bristol and Atlanta, where I got to kind of be a mentor role there, he did an awesome job. And just little things that you see, chime in on the radio and say, hey, you might think about this, and you'd see him try it, and then you would hear him give the feedback of, well, it worked or it didn't work, and this is what about it didn't work. So his feedback was really good. He's I think working with him has been very, very easy so far. It's been great from that standpoint. I don't remember the first part of it. I'm sorry.
No, practice today and qualifying.
I honestly, I don't even know. I don't know what I have to do. I don't know if I have to make a lap in practice, if I have to qualify the car. I don't have to qualify the car, so I'm going to run as little as I have to. I mean, the big thing I think is getting Ty out there, especially at the first group of each practice is when you normally see the bigger group. And I think it's real important for him to be in the car at those points to make sure that he's feeling everything he needs to feel balance-wise and the feedback that he can give to Booga. So, I think that's real important. And if I have to make a lap, we'll make it sometime at the end of practice. But, it'll just be for a formality. It'll be get in, make a full lap, and come back in. So won't be very glamorous today.
Claire?
Claire Belang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I was looking on my hard drive to see the earliest of Talladega Spring, what people were talking about, and the earliest was that I had was 2007, and go find out that you were here talking to NASCAR about something that you said I'm a very honest person. You had a meeting with NASCAR, and then it's 9 years later, and I'm wondering, you have credibility in this sport where you would have the phone number to call up anybody, Brian Francis' phone number. I mean, do you think you could just step in there and express because you're honest about what you say. Can you not do it outside of the realm of what just happened and maybe just go tell people? Would they listen?
I think to a certain degree, and I think more importantly, that's why the Driver Council was started. It's to give us a voice and a collective voice. It's not, the hard part and a scenario that NASCAR doesn't want to get in and can't get into. I mean, we saw this with CART years ago, and the IndyCar side was everybody's going to have an opinion about what to do. And most of the time, it's something that's going to benefit themselves. So to have a Driver Council where you've got drivers from all three manufacturers and different teams and organizations having a unified voice and everybody saying the same thing, it's validation to NASCAR that this isn't about one individual group and what we want to help ourselves. It's what we think as a group is best for everybody. And that's why it's so important to have this started. And NASCAR's done a great job with it. So, to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know if I just got Brian Francis' number yesterday, so I'm happy I got that now. I might call him at midnight, see if I can get a hold of him, just because I'm up at that hour. So I just want to see if Brian's up at that hour. So, but and he'll probably call me back at 6 a.m. and see if I'm up, which won't work very well for me either. So, but we do, and we have those conversations. But sometimes I think the sense of urgency and the sense of this really is an issue sometimes gets numbed with everything else that's going on topic-wise. And that was something with the lug nuts that, it was proof that it was getting worse, not better. And sometimes you gotta shake them, and apparently I shook too hard. So it's just figuring out how to communicate with them, and that's getting better. I mean, we got a Driver Council meeting here in Talladega tonight. So, I'm excited about that, and I'm excited that I have been a part of it last year, and I'm able to be a part of it this year before I move on to see the foundation that's being laid. I mean, I think it's really a positive thing. I think, there's a lot of drivers that are doing more work than I am with it right now, and I'm kind of sitting back and watching what's going on because I'm only going to be on here for another 6-8 months or whatever it is till the season's over. But I'm really proud, and I feel really strong that there's a lot of good leadership in the council right now, and that the foundation that's being laid there will carry on for years to come down the road.
I just have one thing to chime into about answering your question is that we've seen this in good and bad ways, but I think that the social pressure from articles, fans, social media, whatever the chatter is, it tends to be a little bit of the pulse of what the story is and what provokes NASCAR to do something. And I think sometimes it works in a good way, and that everyone chimes in and says, why wouldn't you just police this? And then I think sometimes opinions aren't as intelligent, and maybe they're just forced into making dramatic fines and penalties because people are raising their voices. But I mean, would anything have gotten done if you would have called? I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't been in the sport long enough. But just from my observation is that there's a certain pulse to what happens when everybody finds out, and the conversations that happen in the newspapers and on TV and in social media.
Go to our last question right here to Bob Pockers.
Bob Pockers, ESPN.com, here in the middle. NASCAR told us this week that if Ty does cross the finish line first, that not only would you be the winner, but you'd be allowed to use the win to make the chase. How would you feel making the chase that way? And then also, on the lug nut issue, did you foresee things getting to the point that they did get to the last few weeks as far as teams taking risks, or did you think, or did you not?
We saw the same things you guys saw. I mean, you're seeing more and more cars each week that were having loose wheels. Most of it happened early in races, and gave drivers time to get back. But the thing that really was a huge concern to me is if you're a driver that hasn't made the chase yet and you're leading the race. Say you're leading the race with 10 laps to go here at Talladega, and you've got a loose wheel. What do you do? Do you pit and give up that win, or do you take a chance that you might make it to the end and lock yourself in for the season? I mean, that's a huge decision, and I'm still trying to figure out why, as a driver, we were put in that position to have to make that decision. Because if the wheel comes off, it's a penalty for your crew chief and a fine. If it comes off, it goes in the stands, it's on us as a driver, and if we crash the car or crash other cars, it's on us as a driver. But I don't understand why we were being put in that position in the first place to have to make that decision. So, yeah, we've been thinking about it a lot. I mean, I standing on the roof at races up to last weekend. I mean, you're watching cars come down pit road, and you're like, "What happened?" And you hear on the scanner, it's a loose wheel, and you didn't used to hear that, and so it needed to be brought up, and it needed to be discussed. The crazy part was I wasn't the first person that brought it up. I was down the food chain, of guys that had already discussed it and talked about it, and I talked about it and got my hand slapped. So it may have been, obviously it was the way that I talked about it, which I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I said, or whether what the word or the phrase was that got me in trouble. But when it comes to something like that, that's a safety issue. I mean, fine or not, I think you got to speak your mind and you got to be honest about it. So, I hope this doesn't discourage drivers for standing up for what they believe and what they think's right for everybody, not just ourselves.
Kind of does.
I mean, I appreciate that. I don't think I'll feel good about it if I were to get a spot that way. I know I wouldn't feel good about it. So I think for me to make the chase, it needs to be because I ran the whole race and won the race, not started it and somebody else won it for me.
Thank you all very much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.